Hi there, Smart Drivers, talking to you tonight about frequently asked questions about a driver's test and learning how to drive. Answering all your questions that you are wondering about and giving you the information you need so that you're confident going into your driver's test and knowing that you're going to be successful and pass your driver's test first time. Tonight we're talking about frequently asked questions to pass your driver's test and how to learn how to drive. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s. Licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997. I did that at the Ontario Safety League in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Early 2000s, I was going to the University of Melbourne, which I went to when I was down there visiting Australia, and took the kids there. They weren't very interested in that, so we went down to Lygon Street in Melbourne and had some lunch. Very, very great place if you ever get to Melbourne. Definitely go to Lygon Street and have some food there. Graduated in 2006 with my doctorate in legal history, which is to study policing, courts, and prisons. And my expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. While I was going to university, I drove buses for Greyhound and one of the regional bus lines there, so I have coach experience as well. And if you want to know more about me or the online presence, Smart Drive Test is a great business. Check out my autobiography over at the Smart Drive Test website. Good stuff to have a look at. You fail your driver's test, you are unsuccessful. Definitely have a look at this video here. And as well, if you want to pass first time, have a look at the podcast, Pass My Driver's Test First Time. All right, first question. My turns are too wide. How do I correct my turns that are too wide? What's essentially happening is that you do not know where your vehicle is in space and place. In other words, you don't know where it is in relation to something else, and you don't know how to navigate it. So what I would suggest is that go to a parking lot, go to some place where you can drive around with pylons and cones and practice doing forward maneuvers, backwards maneuvers, and getting comfortable with the steering wheel, the brake, and the accelerator, which is, these are the primary controls. Also, backing into parking spaces, doing your parallel parking, all of this will make you a better driver overall and help you with correcting your turns, helping you to center your vehicle in the lane, and all of the fundamental requirements of a driver's test. Steering wheel control. Do I have to do hand over hand or hand to hand? Most places in North America are going to be hand over hand. A few places will insist that you do hand to hand. I find hand to hand or the push pull method very cumbersome, and it's not as quick as the hand over hand. The hand over hand works much better, and I teach it to all of my students, so do that one. And can you allow the steering wheel to slide back through your hands? You can, as long as you don't allow your hands to leave the steering wheel. They have to stay in contact the whole time with the steering wheel. So keep the palms of your hands in contact. And Cora put up the video on steering for you, and that'll show you how to do that. When you're reversing, can I put my hand over the passenger seat? Yes, you can. And that will help you to turn your hips so that you can look out through the back window. Despite the fact that we have backup cameras in all these vehicles now, you still have to look out through the rear window for the purposes of your driver's test when you're reversing. Okay, merging onto a freeway. Will I be required to do this for the purposes of a driver's test? It will depend on where the DMV is located in relation to a highway or a freeway. If you are within 5 minutes of a DMV, the interstate rather is within 5 minutes of the DMV, then yes, you may end up going out onto the freeway or highway. And you will need to be able to merge into traffic, so know that, okay? I'm scared to drive on the interstate or freeway. How do I overcome this fear? What I would suggest is that you go out early in the morning or later in the evening and practice driving on the highway and getting used to the higher speeds. Because yes, it does feel like you're launching the space shuttle when you go from driving around cities at 30 miles an hour out onto a freeway or highway that can be anywhere from 60 to 80 miles an hour. Practice out on the highways or freeways early in the morning, late at night, after there isn't a bunch of traffic. Don't go out when it's dark, because that's just going to add another layer of complexity to your driving on the highways. As well, take somebody with you that you trust, a mentor, somebody that can help you out. Maybe even hire a driving instructor for 1 or 2 lessons, and all of this will reduce your anxiety of driving out on the roadways and highways. Okay, what is the tolerance for speed limits? How much over the speed limit can you go? Probably if you're going much more than 5 miles an hour over or under the speed limit, you're probably not going to be successful on your driver's test. Know as well that your speed control is tied in with your forward scanning pattern. So you should be looking far down the road, instrument panel, your center mirror, far down the road, wing mirrors, and then repeating that every 10 to 15 seconds. So every 10 to 15 seconds, you should be adjusting your speed. If you're not adjusting your speed every 10 to 15 seconds, that tells the driving examiner that you're not scanning properly. So know that your speed control is directly linked to your forward observation pattern. And unfortunately, I had a comment from a student today that they went 1 mile an hour over in a school zone and were unsuccessful on their driver's test. What I would suggest to you is that go a couple of kilometers, a couple of miles an hour less than the posted speed limit in a school zone, because speeding in a school zone on a driver's test is an automatic fail. Shoulder checking. When do I shoulder check? Every time you change directions of the vehicle, you should be shoulder checking. And shoulder checking, shoulder checking, shoulder checking. Shoulder checking is to driving what not checking to see if a weapon is loaded is to gun safety. Why on any planet would you move a 3,000-pound vehicle at speed, change directions, and not check into your blind areas to make sure that there isn't another road user there? Do it, do it, do it. It's safety, okay? And if you don't believe me about gun safety and picking up a gun to check whether it's loaded before you handle it, ask Alec Baldwin, who's being charged with involuntary manslaughter for the movie scene Rust, okay? What am I looking for when I'm shoulder checking a half a block before the turn? You're mapping and tracking. You're locating other road users that could potentially be in your blind areas, and then you're going to track them as you're moving towards the intersection where you're going to turn. Okay? Sometimes for new drivers, learning drivers, the car will move in the direction that they're shoulder checking. The reason the vehicle moves is because they're moving their head too slowly and the vehicle is going in the direction that they're looking. So move your head quickly, okay? You're not actually looking or examining what's in your blind area. You're simply checking for light and movement, and that is just a very quick head movement to be able to detect that. Left turn positions. Where do I stop at the intersection to make left-hand turns? Stop with the front steer tires on the front crosswalk line. I cannot stress that enough. And I know that there are many, many driving instructors and school of thinking out there that you move into the intersection. You are going to move through the intersection faster if you stay back out of the intersection as well. If something happens when you're in the intersection, you're going to be involved in that crash. If you're not in the intersection, it's less likely that something's going to happen. Okay? So stopping positions at controlled intersections. At intersections, for example, two-way stop signs, four-way stop signs, it's going to be before the stop line, before the crosswalk or sidewalk, or at the edge of the intersection where the two roads meet. So that's your stopping position at controlled intersections. Move to the right lane. Do you have to move to the right lane after you make a left-hand turn? Yes, you do. And the driving examiner will not tell you this. They expect you to do that. The reason that you need to travel in the right lane is because you are going to be the slowest vehicle on the roadway. And being the slowest vehicle on the roadway, you need to travel in the right lane. Every state, every province has a sign along the roadway that says, slower traffic, stay right, which means stay out of the passing lane. What if the light turns yellow when I'm in the intersection? If the light turns yellow when you're in the intersection, start moving straight forward. Check, double check, triple check that the oncoming traffic is in fact coming to a stop. When you know for sure that the oncoming traffic has stopped, then proceed and make your turn through the intersection. You own the intersection. You need to clear it, okay? And there are safety features in place. Know that from the time your light turns red to the other light on the cross traffic turns green, there is a 2-second delay. It's a safety buffer to prevent red light runners getting into a crash in the intersection. Okay, backing. Can I use a backup camera? Yes, you can use a backup camera for the purposes of your driver's test. You cannot use it as your primary line of sight. You still have to use your mirrors. You still have to look out through the back window, okay? You can glance at it, but you cannot use it as your primary line of sight. You cannot see everything out of a backup camera. When I was just in Australia, I was driving a car that had a backup camera. I only glanced at it every now and again because it only shows you a very narrow view straight out the back of the car. As I said, you have to look out through the back window. And what is a 360-degree scan? Before you start backing up, you want to map and track any other road users that are around your vehicle. So do look all the way around your vehicle, okay? Signaling for a three-point turn, yes, you have to signal. As I said previously, every time you change directions of the vehicle, you have to shoulder check. Every time you change directions of the vehicle, signal, all right? And do I have to signal when I'm reversing? Yes, if you're reversing into a parking space, signal in the direction you're going to move the back of the vehicle. Parking, will I fail if I hit the curb on a parallel park or curb parking? Most of the time, yes. Unfortunately, you will fail if you hit the curb. Do I have to use the parking brake? Every time you park the vehicle, use the parking brake, okay? Even if you have an electric brake in the vehicle. And people will say to me, well, you don't have to use the parking brake if the vehicle is on the level, which is not true. Because if that was true, why would all new vehicles automatically apply the parking brake if you didn't need to use it, all right? Automatic transmissions are not designed to hold the vehicle in place, especially on a hill. Apply the parking brake every time. How many times can I pull up during a maneuver? One time. You get one pull up, and then after that one pull up, they start assigning demerit points. Can I adjust my mirrors for parallel parking? No, you can't. The examiner's simply not going to wait. They're going to be annoyed and frustrated if you take the time to do that, and they're probably going to assign you major demerit points. So you cannot adjust your mirrors for parallel parking or any other maneuvers for the purposes of the driver's test. So good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Filipino is here and has a question about driving on highways and feeling sleepy. Yeah, sometimes you can feel a bit sleepy driving on highways. If you are feeling sleepy, I would suggest that you just pull off the road, get out of the vehicle, go for a little walk, and then get back in and drive again. You should be taking a break every couple of hours, especially when you're driving on the highways, because you will start to feel kind of dozy and sleepy while you're driving. So that's my suggestion. Corey is here, Bricks for Wheels. Corey is the moderator, does an excellent job of getting up the videos I suggest you have a look at for further information on questions you ask during the live stream. And it's pretty busy here, so if I don't get to your question right away, do ask your question again in the comments there, and we'll definitely try to get to it and give you an answer and help you out there. If you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know what we can help you with. Any questions you have, what class of license you're going for, we can help you here at Smart Drive Test. Pass your driver's test first time, become a safer, smarter driver, or start a career as a truck or bus driver. Carmen, what exactly is the blind spot? Can you show visually, please? And thank you. Yes, we can definitely show you what those are. If you go over to the Smart Drive Test website, Corey will actually look that up for you. There's an article on blind areas, and it will show you cones around the vehicle in a drawing, an overview of the vehicle, and it'll show you where the blind areas are. Now, the biggest blind area is to the rear of your vehicle, and the bigger the vehicle, the bigger the blind area is going to be to the rear of your vehicle. And because just where you situated in the car and how far away from you are and the vantage point out the back windows and those types of things, this is why we now have backup cameras. But backup cameras only show you directly out the back of the vehicle. They don't show the blind areas to the side there. The second biggest blind area is to the passenger side. And then it's the front of the vehicle, and then on the driver's side there's a small blind area. It's not very big, it's only about 3 feet 1 meter. So those are the blind areas around your vehicle that you're going to be faced with and challenged with when you're driving. So Corey's put up the video for you there on blind areas, and have a look at that. That diagram is in that video. Gordon, any major changes in your town for driving, Rick? No major changes in driving except for the construction that continues to persist here. One of the major roads through our subdivision is closed right now, so it's funneling the traffic into different areas of the suburb, and it's making it difficult to walk through those areas, because areas that don't normally get a lot of traffic are now getting a lot of traffic because that traffic is being funneled from the road that's closed. We actually have 2 roadways into our subdivision that are closed. So that's what we're dealing with here in East Hill and Vernon. Coates, what got you into driving education? Like, what exactly hooked your interest? What hooked my interest in driver education was the fact that more people were killed, injured, and maimed in the 20th century than soldiers sent to war. That fact got me hooked on driver education. I was like, why don't people care about the number of people who are being injured, maimed, and killed in traffic crashes? It just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, there are a number of people who are in, but if you put somebody behind the wheel of the car and watch them drive, most people don't care. Most people simply don't care. Their optimism bias, it's what gets us out of bed every day, makes us believe that the day is going to be awesome, is the very thing that makes us believe that we are not going to be involved in a traffic crash. Also, the fact that when we drive, we know that approximately once every 14 years, a vehicle is going to crash. So it very much tells us that it is something that is very far from people's minds. And people are more afraid of getting eaten by a shark or getting struck by lightning than they are of being involved in a car crash. The other piece about that is winter driving. I've been doing some polls on the community tab of late, and people are actually absolutely terrified of driving in the wintertime. They're more terrified of driving in the wintertime than they are of driving in a hurricane or driving in a forest fire or driving in a tornado. Me personally, I'm more afraid of driving in a tornado or driving in a forest fire than I am of driving in the wintertime. As long as you got good tires in your vehicle is winterized, and you're driving an appropriate speed for the conditions of the roadway, you're going to be just fine in the wintertime. My friend Klaus is tuning in here. Hello, my friend. Gordon, what did car accidents tell us about current and past societies? They tell us a lot, actually, Gordon. If you look at the kind of the trend over the 20th century of the reduction of car crashes, definitely if you want to look at grassroots movements, probably the most important movement in terms of automotive safety. I mean, obviously, you've got the manufacturer safety in the 1960s. With Ralph Nader's Unsafe at Any Speed, and then that forced auto manufacturers to make cars that were safe. And of course, auto manufacturers are saying, hey, cars aren't safe, cars are safe, and safety won't sell. And then, of course, Volvo goes ahead and sells all kinds of cars with automotive safety. But if you look at the grassroots movement of the drink driving campaign at the beginning of the 1970s, as well as seatbelt use, it tells you a lot about how people feel about driving. And it took an entire generation of drivers before they started buckling up. So we can have a great big conversation about all of that. But we won't, because we're not talking about that tonight. We're talking about frequently asked questions. Isaiah, thank you for your answer. It was perfect. I like the stream for you. Thank you so much, my friend, for the thumbs up there. That's awesome. Mallory, the trip to Australia was really great. Yeah, a few driving stories. I've got some video too that I need to process. Yes, if you're going to another country and you're going to drive on the other side of the road, I really recommend that you not just get off a flight and then determine that you're going to drive 6 hours after that, because it was a little confusing because you're on the other side of the road. As you know, Australians drive on the left, and of course I'm in the parking lot and I get in the car, and of course I got the cameras hooked up and the kids are in there and they're talking to me at the same time. And of course it took me a little minute, I had to get the kids on board with their like, drive on the left, drive on the left, drive on the left. I had to get them to keep saying that to me as I was coming out of the airport, because I was pretty tired and I was a little bit out of it. So I had to make sure that I stayed on the left side of the road. And then of course we didn't put the right thing into the GPS. It was taking us the wrong way. The GPS on this car was absolutely just a pain in the butt. It was 2 or 3 times it was taking us somewhere crazy. For example, we were coming back into Sydney. We were going to an airport going to a hotel at the airport, and it kept trying to take us off the expressway. And I was just like, just go somewhere else. So we got lost in Sydney on the way out. Drove around Sydney a little bit. It took us got back in, and essentially what happened was we were trying to type Goulburn into the GPS. Goulburn was spelled Goulburn, and we misspelled it in the GPS. And of course, as you know, with computers, they're very exact, and the GPS was trying to take us somewhere else. So finally, we typed in Melbourne, into the GPS, and then we got going the right way. And, you know, the lesson that is learned from that is kind of going back to old school, which is what I will tell you. If the sign says that it's go to Melbourne on the Hume Highway, follow the sign, okay? The sign's going to be right. The GPS, on the other hand, is not going to be right. So if you have a choice between the sign and the GPS, follow the sign. Every time, follow the sign. All right. Jackson, thanks for helping me for great driving. Sincerely, Jackson. You are most welcome, my friend. So glad that we could help out. I've been practicing a four-way stop and I did it right. Thank you for helping my success in life. I also have decided to make a mock road test Saturday and I will be try my best. Always, always. Excellent. That's great news, my friend. Rawson, the reason why we should always apply the parking brake when parking, because to secure our vehicle, yes, it's a backup, okay? So you have a backup. You always want to have a backup to make sure that your vehicle is, in fact, where you left it when you come back. So that's the reason. So you got the transmission in park, and you've got the parking brake applied. Therefore, when you come back, you know that the vehicle is still going to be there, okay? Elevator, when you use GPS, make sure you look at your route before you drive. Yeah, there's that too. But if you don't know where you're going, you don't know the roads, sometimes looking at the route is not going to help you out. But I mean, for the most part, the GPS worked fairly well. There was just a couple of times it's like, where are we going and what is the GPS doing? And this sign says for me to go in another direction. Carmen, why should you only pass on the left? Oh, no. Carmen, I was talking about Australia. They drive on the left. And this is why I was talking about driving on the left, because, you know, you want to be on the correct side of the road when you're in different countries. So, yeah, in Australia, I just recently went to Australia, and you got to make sure you're on the correct side of the road. Klaus, mostly if you're driving around 5 kilometers an hour over the speed limit, you will not make your driving test. Don't trust the grilled GPS system. They can be annoying. Yes, very annoying. And the other thing, Klaus, that was funny about the GPS was it was this British proper dude. He was very proper. Please make a left at the next intersection. You know, please make a left at the and it was just even more annoying that he was being so polite and proper. And it was like, oh, I want to pound you. You're taking me the wrong way. Mallory said, I find that maps are better than GPS. Yes, and sometimes you just want to go old school. There was one time, I don't know where we were going, but my son, Bern, just said, yeah, we're going old school here. And he had the map out because he had it on my phone. And, you know, we were trying not to use my phone. I find my phone is much better than the GPS was on this car that we had. It was a Cupra. I'm not sure who makes the Cupra. C-U-P-R-A. Supra, you know, like the Toyota Supra, except it was a Cupra. So anyway, I'll show you some pictures of that in the video and whatnot. But it was definitely interesting, you know, driving. Elevator fan, 2 more days until I leave for Cleveland, Ohio. Awesome. Richie, when approaching roundabouts, best to treat a yield sign as a stop sign and only proceed when it's completely clear. Richie, yeah, no, that won't always work for you, and sometimes you're going to annoy other people who are driving at roundabouts because if the way is clear, you don't have to stop. You can simply proceed through the roundabout. And this is the transition for those of us from North America and are not accustomed to roundabouts. As you're coming up to the roundabout, you got to be prepared to kind of stop and proceed at one and the same time. And that's kind of the little transition when it comes to roundabouts. And now that I've driven with roundabouts and I went back to Australia and I was driving in roundabouts, they're just awesome. I love roundabouts. They just move traffic so much better, right? And facilitate traffic flow way better. And I just like the fact that, you know, Australians will just take a conventional intersection, not like we do here where we feel that we need to tear up half the intersection and half of 4 blocks to put in a roundabout. They just take a traffic button and they stick it in the middle of the intersection and they call it good. And that's what we need to do here in North America. We really need to embrace the roundabout because it just stops that goofy coming to a complete stop because there's a stop sign. The other piece that I liked about we were mostly in the state of Victoria when we were, you know, around Melbourne, is that they have very few stop signs. Most of their intersections are fitted with a yield sign. And I think that yield signs are just much better for traffic flow, driving as a whole, and whatnot. I think here in North America, we need to start getting rid of our stupid stop signs, and we just need to put in yield signs. People aren't stopping at stop signs anyway. They're treating them as yield signs. So let's just put in yield signs and roundabouts, and let's move on with our lives. I think we could seriously improve traffic flow. Okay, overcome with technology. Yes, Cupra had a lot of technology. I was driving down the highway. We were coming back from the Grampians. We're going towards Melbourne. And if you didn't hold on to the steering wheel, it would tell you to hang on to the steering wheel, because there were a few times I had just kind of a really light touch on the steering wheel. And at one point I was like, okay, let's see what this goofy thing will do. And I took my hands off the steering wheel, and, you know, it's like warning. There's a big warning coming on the thing, and it's like, put your hands back on the steering wheel. Put your hands back on the steering wheel. This wasn't the proper British dude. This was like the grumpy electronic voice in the car. And not only was it telling me that, then the steering wheel starts shaking, and then my seatbelt starts going, you know, as if I had fallen asleep at the wheel or something. But the overwhelming amount of technology in this car was just way too much. It was way too much. And the adaptive cruise control, the other piece about driving in Australia is that the roads are narrower. And because the roads are narrower, the sensors on the adaptive cruise control often get the vehicle in the other lane and will start slowing down in relation to the vehicle in the other lane, which is super annoying. Super annoying. So way too much technology on this vehicle for me. I am not liking the future of automotive technology. I'll just take my old buggy any day now. Okay? Ross, and I always drive on the right-hand lane unless I'm making a left turn and I need to move into the left-hand lane. Yes, excellent. Filipino, looking forward to your Australian driving videos. Yes, really good stuff. The other piece is, you know, blocking intersections, moving through intersections. This is a real skill to know in congestion when you can move through the intersection so you can clear the intersection. Because as you know, one of the things I didn't talk about in the presentation is that blocking an intersection or moving into an intersection that you can't clear in a driver's test is an automatic fail. Doesn't matter where you take your driver's test. If you don't get onto the other side of the intersection and you are still sitting in the intersection when the traffic light turns red, that is an automatic fail on a driver's test. So make sure that you can move completely through the intersection before you move into it if you're unfortunate enough to hit congestion when you're taking your driver's test in a city. Carmen, I try to reword my previous question when passing, overtaking a car, which is better to pass them on the left lane? Yes. Yes. Thank you for rewording that, Carmen. And yes, when we're in North America and we drive on the right in Europe and whatnot, yes, always overtake on the left. Very seldom do you, unless you're on a freeway with multiple lanes, you don't want to be overtaking on the right. It's just unpredictable. Other people don't really expect it. So it's always better to pass on the lane on the left. It's going to keep you safe that way. Rawson, okay, we already answered that one. Thornton, I'm literally Batman, so it's okay for me to run red lights in order to continue my war on crime of Gotham. Brilliant. Mallory, if you want to have fun on roundabouts, just go to Prince Edward Island. Do they have a lot of roundabouts in Prince Edward Island, Mallory? Gordon, can you talk about fast lane versus slow lane? Yes. Klaus says they have a couple of roundabouts there in Germany. And excellent. So happy to hear that we can help you out there, Rawson. Poppy, could you please explain how to speed up when following speed limit signs going from 25 to 55? Okay, excellent. All right, so Ramsey, I'll answer this one first. Fast lane and slow lanes. Okay, so when to speed up? All right, so you're usually when the speed increases, we're going to take the example of driving on a highway in the country. You're going to come into a village or a small town, and then you're going to start coming out to the edge of town on the other side. You can know because it's the driving environment is going to open up into pastures and fields, less buildings. The buildings aren't going to be as close together and those types of things. So as that begins to happen, you begin to keep your eye on the traffic signs and those types of things. And in your example here of going from 25 miles an hour to 55 miles an hour, once you see that 25, once you see the 55 mile an hour sign, you can start speeding up at that point and getting the vehicle up to speed. Now, you don't have to like walk on it, not like when you're on an acceleration lane, but you can be fairly aggressive in getting the vehicle up to the higher speed limit there for sure. But you have to be able to see that higher speed limit before you start accelerating. You don't want to start accelerating before you see that higher speed limit. Otherwise, if you're on a driver's test, you're not going to be successful on that. So you need to see that speed limit with the higher limit on it. Okay, Gordon, fast lanes about slow lanes. Okay, so left lane. So let's say you're on a freeway, an interstate, for example. You've got two lanes. The right lane is the slow lane. It's the lane where you're usually going to get into to exit off the freeway. And if you're insistent on driving the speed limit, the posted speed limit, you're going to be in that right lane as well. The left lane is going to be the passing lane. Now, if you have more, 1, 2, 3, if the right lane is going to be the lane that you're going to get off the highway, off the freeway, and as well, it's also going to be the lane that you're going to drive the posted speed limit. The center lane is going to be your best defensive lane because the left lane is going to be the super fast lane, or the big dollar lane as we call it in the trucking industry. And the center lane is simply going to be where you can cruise along, probably going to be doing 5, maybe 10 miles an hour over the posted speed limit in the center lane. And then the other lane, the left lane, will be left open for the passing lane. So that's kind of an overview of the 3 different lanes when you're driving. And I hadn't kind of thought about that before, but I could do a video on that of driving lanes on highways and freeways. Just writing that down here, writing myself a note. So lane use, there we go. Poppy, you are most welcome. Elevator is blocking an emergency vehicle and automatic fail on a driver's test. Yes, it is, Elevator fan, if you block an emergency vehicle or don't come to a complete stop as soon as possible for an emergency vehicle, that too, yes, indeed, is an automatic fail on your driver's test. Okay. Ivan, checking mirrors. So looking far down the road. In, check your center mirror. Far down the road. In, check your instrument panel. Looking far down the road again. In, check one of your wing mirrors. Far down the road, check your other wing mirror, and then far down the road. And you want to be repeating that scanning pattern every 10 to 15 seconds. That's how you're checking your mirrors. And basically when you're checking your mirrors, it's just a quick check, okay? What's behind me? Where is the position of other vehicles and other road users around me as I'm moving down the roadway is how you're checking your mirrors. Center mirrors, you're checking your center mirrors. If you're going to slow down, you're going to bring their vehicle to a stop. You want to figure out who's behind you and how far behind you are they, and is it going to be safe for you to slow down so that you don't get rear-ended and somebody else doesn't park in your trunk, sort of thing. All right. Mallory says, yes, there's a lot of roundabouts in Prince Edward Islands. Yes, Prince Edward Island. That's awesome. We love roundabouts. Okay. Jackson says that the roads on his test are narrow. And yes, as I said, in Australia, the roads are a little bit narrow. It's not as bad as it was when I was driving there in the early 2000s. The Hume Highway between Sydney, Australia, and Melbourne is now more, it's a freeway. Okay. And it wasn't nearly as interesting as it was to drive when I was driving coaches there. Because you were still going through the center of Albury, which is the town on the state line between New South Wales and Victoria, and you were still driving through the center of Holbrook and other places. So it's not interesting now. It's just a freeway, and driving on a freeway. Freeways are the same in Spain as they are in the UK, as they are in the United States on interstates, as they are here in Canada. You know, an interstate and a freeway is a freeway is a freeway. It doesn't matter where it is in the world. They're all the same. They're really not that interesting. And unfortunately, the drive from Sydney to Melbourne now is not an interesting drive at all. If you were looking for an interesting drive and you certainly wanted to see parts of Australia, I would suggest that you drive along the ocean from Melbourne to Sydney. But of course, that's another 4 or 5 hour drive going up the coast as opposed to driving along the Hume Highway. All right. Emily, question. I'm a new G2 driver and want to know what to do to prepare for my G license. Eventually, is it a lot of highway driving? Emily, no, it's not a lot of highway driving. Actually, the G2 to the G license is exactly what you did for your G2 test, except they expect you to have a bit more experience and a bit more savvy in terms of your ability to drive the car. That's all it is. It's exactly what you did for your previous test. Now, I don't know whether Ontario, maybe you or some of the other smart drivers could answer this question. They had temporarily suspended slow speed maneuvers on the G test for the purposes of being able to catch up with the backlog there in Ontario. So just check that, Emily, to see whether Ontario is still suspended parallel parking slow speed maneuvers for the purposes of your driver's test, because you may not have to do that. And no, the answer is you don't have to do a lot of highway driving and those types of things. They just expect you to be at a higher driving level, and you're going to do all the same things that you did for your previous driving test, okay? Driving up in city driving through intersections, left and right turns, and those types of things. That's all it's going to be for the purposes of your driver's test. Stopping at the correct stopping position at stop sign intersections and whatnot. So, no, it's not highway driving. It's exactly what you did before on your other test. Elevator fan, if the driving examiner intervenes before you, that is an automatic fail on a driver's test? Yes, it is. Okay, for example, you're making a left-hand turn, the gap's not sufficient, and you start to make the left-hand turn. The driving examiner intervenes and says, no, you can't go, and lightly touches the steering wheel. Unfortunately, that's an automatic fail on a driver's test. Jackson, the roads in my tester neighborhood are narrow, and yes, that's another thing that you're going to have to deal with on your driver's test. If you're going down residential roads and there's parked cars on both sides, you're going to have to drive down the center. Now, of course, you're going to have to slow down for that because the road is narrower. The smaller the space gets into which you're trying to fit your car, the slower you're going to go so that you don't hit something accidentally while you're driving. You have going slower. You have more time to maneuver, more time to observe, and more time to get your vehicle stopped in case something happens. For example, there's another car coming towards you, and you need to figure out a place where you need to move over so that you can pass one another, or the other vehicle needs to slow down and get off the roadway. Okay, so the smaller the space gets into which you're trying to fit your vehicle, the slower you want to be going on your driver's test. Rawson, is there students that you teach how to drive? Rawson, yes, all my students here on the Smart Drive Test YouTube channel, but I do rarely do any in-car training anymore. Most of my training is here online. Evan, before moving off from the side of the road, you may or may not have to do a 6-point check where you look in both blind spots through the back window and in the rear view mirror. Evan, we just make that easier by calling it a 360-degree scan. Before moving off from the side of the road, you're just going to quickly do a 360-degree scan around your vehicle and shoulder check, mirror signal shoulder check to make sure that you can pull out and it's safe to do so. Sakara from Nambian, what do you think about the Land Cruisers 79 series? Sakara, I think there are some people who really think that they're really awesome. I mean, 79 series, they're going to be mechanical vehicles. There's not going to be a lot of power accessories on those vehicles. So I would say that sounds like a vehicle that you would need to be fairly handy and have the ability to be able to fix some of the stuff on your own. So something that you would need to do a fair bit of research on. I mean, fortunately now we live in a world of YouTube and the internet, so there's lots and lots and lots of resources available. But definitely, if you're in Nambia, that's probably sounds like the vehicle that you want for being on those back roads and whatnot. So definitely also a vehicle that you want in Australia. I mean, they still have their copious amounts of four-wheel drives and whatnot, and there's lots of parts of Australia where you're going to need a four-wheel drive. Filipino, what is the maximum speed on the Coquihalla, BC? I heard it's one of... Yeah, no, I don't know, Filipino, if it is, in fact, one of the most dangerous roads. They say that, but it's really not. Most of the time, it's in good nick and whatnot. There's a good Australian word for you, good nick. It's in good repair and good maintenance is what I'm trying to say. The speed limit on the Coquihalla is 110 kilometers an hour. So, yeah. All right, Key App, how do you know how close you are to the curb when you pull over to the side of the road? Key Cap, that is something that you are going to have to practice, and that is something that I would suggest you practice with cones when you're driving, when you're learning how to drive, and it's just going to be practice because that passenger side of your vehicle is the second biggest blind area on your vehicle, and that is one of the tough things to learn is how far your vehicle is from the curb on the other side. So just practice, do the slow speed maneuvers, do your parallel parking, and the more you do it, the more the better you are going to get at being able to gauge how far you are from the curb. Emily, how do I check fluid levels on my car? Example, wiper fluids, antifreeze. I just started driving and want to make sure I'm good during the winter time. Okay, excellent. Emily, great question. Corey will put up the video for you on winter car care. Those things are pretty easy to check. The radiator fluid, there's going to be the radiator, and then there's going to be an overflow tank because when you heat up liquid, it expands, right? So there's an overflow tank, and there's a reservoir, and it's clear. And if you just put a flashlight in there, there's going to be a minimum and a maximum line. And as long as the fuel is or the fluid rather, is between that minimum and maximum, you're going to be just fine. Windshield washer fluid, you just fill it up until it's full. The oil depends on what kind of vehicle you have. Most older vehicles, in the since 2015 are all going to have dipsticks in them. Pull the hood, pull the thing out, look at it, check it, make sure you got oil in it. Some of the newer vehicles, the Audis, for example, are going to have it on the telematics screen in the thing that it's going to have services or maintenance for the car, and you go in and check the oil in there. What else do you need to check under there? Automatic transmission fluid. Again, that will probably be a dipstick for that. Brake fluid. And again, all of this is in the video, and Corey will put that up for you to show you how to do that for winter car care. Brake fluid. Again, it's probably going to be a clear reservoir, and it's going to have a minimum and a maximum line on it. Some of the reservoirs, power steering, for example, is going to have a dipstick on it, and that's basically all I can think of. The other one that you want to check every now and again is the air filter, okay? The air filter, the fuel filter. Now, if you're not comfortable doing a bit of wrenching by yourself, then you want to take that into a technician and get them to check those and some of those to change and whatnot. You have a Mazda CX-30. Okay, yeah. So what year is it, Emily? What year is your car? As I said, most of them are going to be clear reservoirs, and they're going to have a line on it. And if you just shine a light into it, it's pretty easy to do. And if you look at the car care video, Corey, as I said, Corey will put that up for you. You can just have a look at that. That'll definitely help you out. Ross, and I do check my blind spots when turning because could be pedestrians, and now in this day and age, it could be pedestrians, somebody on an e-bicycle, an e-scooter, all those types of things. So definitely have a look at that. Filipino, what cars still manufacture manual transmissions in Canada? There's a few of them, Filipino. Jeep still manufactures a manual transmission. Other than that, I don't know off the top of my head who else. Subaru probably does. I think their WRX still comes in a manual transmission. So yes, those are the two off the top of my head that I know that manufacture manual transmissions. Other than that, most of them are going to be automatics. Okay, Lydia, what should my tire pressure be at? Okay, Lydia, most tire shops are going to tell you that the tire pressure is going to be 32 pounds per square inch. Some cars, you can open the driver's door and there will be a plate there, and on that plate, it will tell you what the recommended tire pressure is. It's up to you. Now, personally, on my old buggy, my 1998 Honda CR-V, it tells me to run my tires at 26 pounds per square inch. I run my tires at 32 pounds per square inch. Every time that I have taken it to a tire shop, they put 32 pounds per square inch in it. I like running my tires at 32 pounds per square inch. They last a bit longer. I get a better ride. I get better fuel economy. The manufacturer, the Honda recommended tire pressure, I don't find as good. So I tend to run 32 pounds per square inch. If you're not sure, take it into a shop, a tire shop, and get them to tell you what the tire pressure should be on your vehicle. Now, the other thing is, if you don't have tire pressure sensors on your vehicle, most new cars are all going to have tire monitoring sensors on them. I think it was 2010, 2011 that all vehicles came out with tire sensors on, and they will tell you if you have low tire pressure. If you don't have those, just go to a shop, Cal Tire, Michelin, can't think of any of the other ones right now, but they will come out, they'll check your tire pressure, and they will top up your tire pressure. They'll torque the lug nuts on your vehicles as well if you recently had your tires changed or whatnot, because the lugs should be torqued to 100 pounds per square inch, okay? 100 foot-pounds. So know that, and you just take it into a shop and you say, listen, I need a retorque, and they'll do that for you. Okay, Ross, and I mostly like driving automatic transmissions because they're much easier and I can keep both hands on the steering wheel. Ross, and you keep both hands on the steering wheel most of the time in a manual transmission as well. But I personally, I like a manual transmission. Yes, I drive a 1997 Toyota RAV4 and it's manual, Filipino, yes. And it's, you know, it's the cousin car to the 1998 Honda CR-V. And I just keep driving the Honda because it just keeps on going. So I just keep driving it. Cosmic, I'm learning to drive Rivian with regenerative braking. Okay, so is it an electric car with regenerative? That's interesting with regenerative, or is it a hybrid? One of those two. Okay, Venkat, your videos were super helpful. I took driving lessons over the summer and finally got my driver's license on my third try. And that is awesome, my friend. Congratulations on getting your license and keeping going, not giving up. Brilliant, brilliant. Cosmic for Amazon. That's tremendous. Awesome. Okay. So good luck on the driving career there with Amazon and learning how to drive with the regen braking. I'm sure that's a bit of a learning curve. It was the same thing with the car that I had in Australia. It was a bit of a learning curve for the first little bit. Really, I just kind of stuck to the basics. I kind of asked myself, I mean, why do I need 7 different views of the instrument panel? Like, really, why do I need that? I don't need that. I need a speedometer and I need a tachometer and an odometer. That's all I need. And, and a fuel gauge, of course, to tell me how much fuel is in the stupid thing. But I just don't need 7 different layouts of the instrument panel on a car. And this is one of the things that just drives me crazy about all this technology. Emily, what are your opinions on best newer crossover SUVs? Best newer crossover SUVs. Emily, that honestly, I couldn't answer that question for you because I'm just not up on these types of things and whatnot. I know that one of the other smart drivers isn't here. She is a Honda HRV, H something. Anyway, it's the smaller one from the CR-V. It's a really good vehicle. She really likes it. I mean, most of the vehicles now in this day and age are going to do you really well. Okay, they're really great. They're reliable. They got, they're not going to break down if it's a couple years old. It's, they've already figured out all the issues with it and those types of things. Now you're just going to have to do the regular amount of maintenance and whatnot, right? New tires, oil changes, those types of things. So you're going to have to do what you can. So just about any vehicle is going to do you well, whether it's a Toyota, whether it's a Honda, a Nissan. They're all going to be decent vehicles in this day and age because automotive technology has advanced so much that vehicles are really good. But in terms of telling you a specific car, I mean, I think a newer crossover SUV is going to come down to personal experience in terms of what you want. Okay. Carmen, what videos or playlists do you recommend for general knowledge on driving? Corey will put those up for you. I think Corey already did. How to drive on city roads and maintain better control. General knowledge on driving. How to pass your driver's test first time. The playlist and the mock driving test. That will give you the information that you need to be able to get general driving information. Now, if you want something specific in terms of defensive driving, space management. Okay, I cannot emphasize this enough in terms of defensive driving. I know that every traffic safety organization out there that is posting on Twitter and other social media are all saying, oh my God, speed is the worst thing. Speed is number one reason for deaths and traffic crashes and those types of things. I disagree. Yes, speed will contribute to the consequences of the crash, or the severity of the crash is what I mean. But it's not the reason for the crash. The reason for the crash too many times is that people are following too close to other traffic on the roadway. And it's the same problems in Australia. It's the same problems in Europe. It's the same problems here. People are following too close. And in North America, rear end crashes are the number one insurance reported crash, even more so than windshield damage. Okay? People are following too close. So if you want to be a safer, smarter driver, you need to implement two skills. One, make sure that you're following 3 to 4 seconds behind the vehicles in front of you, which is going to mean increasing your following distance by twice what you're doing now. And then every time you stop in traffic so you can see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the pavement. If you can implement those two skills, you are going to significantly reduce your chances of being involved in a crash. More space around your vehicle, because if you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something. So, increase space around your vehicle and you will be a safer, smarter driver. All right. Emily, I find people are always following me too close. It's literally annoying. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The statistician, how hard is it to drive a stick shift, a manual car? I can teach you how to drive a manual car in a couple hours. Okay, so if you get somebody who's knowledgeable in being able to teach you how to drive a manual car, it's not that hard at all. And the other piece about driving a manual car is first and reverse are going to be your two hardest gears, because you're trying to get the car going from a standstill, right? Once you master those two gears, the rest of it is fairly straightforward and fairly easy. But most people with above average intelligence can learn how to drive a manual car in a couple hours. Mallory says she's looking forward to the Australian driving videos. Yes, and I'll get those up there, and I'll try not to look too angry when I'm driving, because the one coming out of Sydney, out of the airport, I'm pretty tired for sure. All right, Dixie, are you still doing jiu-jitsu? How's it going? Yes, I'm still doing jiu-jitsu for sure, and it's going well. And like I said, I'm just getting back from Australia. I've been back a week now, so I'm starting to get over the jet lag. And trying to get caught up and work on those types of things. But yes, still doing jiu-jitsu. And I was saddened by the fact that the other day I was talking to my friend who's my instructor, and one of my buddies quit. I was very disappointed that Phil quit. So very disappointed, because you kind of get your mates who you train with and you go there and you kind of hang out with them and those types of things. And it was like, oh, really? No, man. So... Cloud, speed is only bad if it stops from 70 kilometers an hour to 0. Don't buy an electric car. Yes, there is that. Filipino, yes, I encounter a lot of tailgaters and turning left when it says on the traffic sign. Yes. So, space. If you can increase space, you're going to be a safer, smarter driver for sure. Do you teach that, Mohammed? Yes, I do. And Corey will put up the list for you on videos to have a look at for... the CDL stuff, the Class 1 license for sure. Dixie, why did Phil stop? I mean, Ben said to me that he just felt he wasn't progressing and he wasn't moving forward. I mean, but that's jiu-jitsu. I mean, you can train for a couple of years and feel like you're not moving forward at all. So, yeah, that's the answer that I got. I don't know. You never really know the whole story. I mean, maybe they're working on something else or something else is going on in their life. I don't know. But, if you want to move through a martial art pretty slowly, jiu-jitsu is the one. It's a slow journey. I mean, most people taking jiu-jitsu are going to be 10 years plus to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu. It takes a long time. It's a lot of work. Dixie, you're a blue belt? Yes, and I just got promoted just before I left for Australia. I got another stripe, so I'm 2 stripes on my blue belt, which is, it's a big achievement. Considering 18 months ago my back was out and I didn't ever think I was going to go back training again. So I'm really happy about the whole thing. Elevator fan, I have encountered slow pokes and it drives me crazy. Yes. Social driving, other people driving slow, other people policing you when you do something wrong. they're going to do all of that for sure. Okay, Klaus, don't buy a car with airbags deployed. Yes, I probably would recommend the same thing, Klaus, because I suspect that if the airbags have been deployed on a car, it's been in a crash, and not only has it been in a crash, but it's super expensive to put airbags back in. Actually, I think that most vehicles that have airbags deployed, they simply write the vehicle off because it's so expensive to replace them. Where is your school located? I have schools in Alberta, Edmonton. Mohammed, I don't have physical locations. I can help you out with some videos and stuff, but I don't actually do the physical training. I can definitely help you out, helping you find a school if you're looking for one there in Edmonton, Alberta. I can give you some recommendations of people to go and talk to and whatnot. I kept rewatching your videos because you explain thoroughly the knowledge of driving. I am a driver myself and would always be better at my craft. Awesome, and that's really great, my friend. Dixie, you'll be a purple belt in no time. I don't know about that. I'm thinking a year per stripe, so I'm thinking it's going to be another 3 years before I get to be a purple belt for sure. Yeah, it's a lot of work. All right, Amy, I'm getting more confident to drive. When snow hits, it's going to be a new experience for me. Amy, it's going to be a new experience for lots of people. Lots of people are really, really challenged by snow and ice on the roadways for sure. So, Cloud says to buy a hybrid car. Yes, and I would agree with that. Do not buy an electric car. Somebody had a post on one of the social medias the other day. I think it was Facebook or Twitter. I can't recall, but they were saying, "Oh, I almost finished my my Tesla 2024 calendar," and every page was a Tesla on fire. Not the greatest advert you want for advertising your car, but yeah, that's what they were doing. Carmen, do you always stream on Tuesdays? Yes, I do, my friend. Tuesdays at 4 p.m. I always stream at this time. And Rawson, I don't give up on driving. Yes, and you can't give up on driving for sure. Airbags out, car is totaled. Yes, indeed. I couldn't imagine how much it would cost to put airbags back in. Like I said, it's just an incredible expense. Jackson, there's also 4-way stops and 2-way stops in the area. Will be taking my test. Yes, those in North America are pretty much a go all the time. So, winter is almost here, and we had to readjust our driving style when the first snow drops. Yes, you do, and it's going to be here quickly for sure here in British Columbia in the mountains. Emily, about how much does a set of winter tires run you? Do you have to buy new rims for those tires as well? Okay, so Emily asked a really great question about winter tires. You can buy rims, okay? And a set of rims is going to cost you $200 to $300. And the way that they come up with this is, say, for example, over 5 years, $200 to $300. It's going to cost you $40 to $50 to change a tire over on the rims, okay? So that's $40 to $50 per tire every year, so $200. So say you spend $400 on a set of rims, over a couple of years, getting another set of rims is going to save you money, right? I mean, you could go out and see if you could find a set of secondhand rims, okay? And those are just going to be just as good, especially if they're steel rims. So it's going to be a personal choice about whether you buy another set of rims for winter tires or those types of things. The other piece, Emily, that I would keep in mind for you, especially if you're driving in southwestern Ontario, I'm guessing that you're in southwestern Ontario, the Toronto kind of Brantford area. They don't get a lot of snow. If you are in one of the snow belts where they do get a lot of snow, then yes, put winter tires in your vehicle. But if you're doing mostly city driving, you really don't need winter tires. All-season tires with the mountain snowflake symbol on them or the M&S mud and snow are going to do you just fine in the wintertime. But if you're going to go with the expense of a set of winter tires, a new set of winter tires is going to cost you probably $800 to $1,000, okay? So know that for buying winter tires. In the long run, yes, another set of rims is going to help you out. But, okay, you're in the heart of Toronto. If you're in the heart of Toronto and your all-season tires have the mountain snowflake symbol on them or you have the M&S symbol on them, you're going to be just fine driving around on your all-season tires, okay? So know that for winter tires. And what we'll do another video here on winter car care and driving around on winter tires next week. And we'll give you some more information about that and help you out with all of that. All right, so we'll leave that here for tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in, asking your great questions, all the stuff. And we'll definitely get the videos up on Australia and give you some more information about driving in Australia and on the other side of the road and whatnot. So if you had a test in the last couple of weeks and passed, congratulations on that. And if you have a test coming up in the next week or so, good luck on that. And drop us a note down in the comments if you have any questions, and we'll help you out. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.